all rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming to this June 13th meeting. As usual, we've got employees of the month, and we have Brian Duraska. And I got to tell you, when you told me you were going to stripe down by the beach, I kept going down there and looking and going, you know when Gary's going to get down here and stripe. And those guys arrived, and I've never seen anybody stripe so fast in my life. I still haven't figured out how they got the white paint out of the machine and got the blue paint in to do the handicap. I still can't figure it. I watched them, and all of a sudden, boom, it was blue, and then it was white again, and they were just going back and forth. It was unbelievable. And Paul Murphy, the highway supervisor, writes about him. I'm recommending Brian be awarded Employee of the Month. On May 22nd, Brian worked a normal day, went home for a few hours, and returned to work for nearly 10 hours. After working all night striping all the roads in the village, unbelievable, and Job's Lane too. He took a short break, then repaired stone damage at the War Memorial in Agawam Park. All of his hard work helped beautify the village in time for Memorial Day celebrations and a large number of visitors we received for the holiday weekend. I thank him for his efforts as a mason, as well as his willingness to complete any task required by the Highway Department. And Brian, you are the fastest striper I have ever seen. I mean, literally, it was great. And we move on to public comment, and we have Evelyn Conrad.
May I delay till after the proposal, which I think is very important? Is that all right?
Yes, that's fine. Yep. So with that, we move to board presentations, and we've got Moses Lane Park, which I think, when did we acquire that? 3 years ago, I think?
Yeah, I think it was.
About 3 years ago, I think. And Gary's done a terrific job in putting in a walking path, which to me is the most exciting aspect of it, because the village of Southampton, we have so little walking. You know, you try to walk on the road, and you got trucks flying by you and cars flying by you, and there you can get a little piece, and that wanders quite a ways. It goes up to the railroad tracks, along a berm that Gary installed, and down and around and back again. So to me, pretty exciting place for anybody who would like to take a walk. And then the second part of it that we're doing is originally we started with tennis courts, and now we've advanced out of the tennis courts, and we've got 3 of them going in and 2 bocce courts. So why don't you give us a presentation, because pickleball is a hot.
It's hot, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, board members. Steve Nerota with Harris Design, landscape architecture. So
Steve, we're going to have you.
That's in here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Steve Nerota with Harris Design. As Mr.
You can
Mayor
do the mic there if you want to point out some stuff.
take it with you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I can walk around.
Yeah.
There you go.
So as the mayor was just going over, it's the park area proposed is approximately just shy of 11 acres. The existing site right now is just vacant, and it's fairly open, grassy, meadowy look, very flat. It's the highest point is the northeast corner. It slopes gradually toward Moses Lane. So it's very, open to this type of development that we're looking at. We're looking at the trail system. A couple of amenities are the trail system, the tennis courts, and bocce courts. The trail that Mayor was just talking about, there's a loop here, this larger loop. It's about a half mile. So residents could go and actually count the miles as they walk it. And this smaller loop is shy of a quarter mile. It's about 0.2 miles. So it's good to give that scale and understanding of what you're doing. So as we talked about, we're looking at tennis courts situated to the north of the park to get as far away from the residences as possible. And we wanted to sink, what we're doing is sinking the court. So this is actually, what we're showing here is a fairly large bowl. We're grading down. Sometimes we have to use retaining walls to do this. But what we want to do is just use grade, excavate down, and then use that fill as part of the berm that Gary's already begun building, and also to create some elevation change around the courts along the south side to create more buffering for visual and noise. So that's a cost-effective way to handle that scenario. We also show this entry point from Moses on the west side of the park. The thought is to have a gravel crushed bluestone drive, and creates access to a parking area that serves the bocce courts, and then also loops around and could serve these tennis courts on the north side. There would be a viewing platform situated on the north of the courts to create a nice flat area for gathering, viewing. That would be one area that we probably would have to have a retaining wall just to hold that, and then you create steps down to the courts. The courts would be built of asphalt with a deco turf finish. So you can paint it. We have several options of colors we could get to. There are some more cost-effective colors that we can explore with the village. I think that's about it. We have the bocce courts are here.
Two of them?
Two.
Yeah.
And then the 3 tennis courts. And I don't know if you can see on the plan, we have the pickleball courts are aligned in yellow, and each court has pickleball as well.
So how does that work? The restriping or a different stripe?
It's a different color. Yeah,
Okay.
typically a yellow. They just stripe it for it.
So one tennis court can be used as how many pickleball courts?
Well, there's two options. You can actually do one court that uses the net as the net for the pickleball. Also, we've seen it where you can divide it, where you can do 2 pickleball courts. So you'd have this side would be a court, and then this side would be a court. So you actually,
I think they want.
You can actually do 2 courts.
They want as many as they possibly can.
Yeah. So that's something we could look at.
So essentially, you take down the main tennis net, and you put 2 temporary or removable nets for the pickleball.
Right. And this net, I don't even know if it'd have to come down so much, because this acts as the backdrop.
As a back, right?
Court.
Correct. Yeah. Right.
And so you'd actually, one team would be, or player would be kind of in this open area here.
Right.
And the net would be situated sort of at the end of the court.
Got it.
The tennis court.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize they were so short, pickleball.
They're small. Yeah.
Yeah, no wonder they like them.
There are funding sources too that we've looked into. The Empire State Development Direct Assistance Program. We have the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation has a good grant program for environmental protection funds. So they want to support this type of development that creates access for public walkways, trails, and sports athletic facilities that are open for the public use.
Yeah.
That's accessible to, all races, gender, everything. It's inclusive. That's the thing. So.
Yeah. Well, that was our main intent. We're even going to allow Jay to be there.
So obviously, there's economies if the village is going to do the entire project to do it all at once. But how much or how difficult is it to do it in phases or stages if, in fact, funding is an issue? Does it grow that exponentially or not really?
Well, so we're thinking the overall budget for the plan it's shown now is about $500,000.
Okay.
And based on RS Means is a cost data service that we use as a resource. A total court, including nets, posts, the drainage systems, would be about $120,000 to build a tennis court.
Okay.
So you can look at it that way. If we build it all, we'd be at $500,000. If we took a court off and maybe one bocce court off, we maybe save $150,000, something in that range.
Got it.
So with the development, we think it would be best to just do it all at once.
Right.
If the funding's there
If the funding's
support that.
available.
Otherwise, it can really. I mean, the basic amenities of the trails, which Gary's already begun building.
Yeah.
There's a basic entry with gravel, stone, and then the courts and the bocce. If we just really keep it bare minimum, using grading, so we don't have to use retaining walls,
And the good thing, too, you can get sponsors for the plantings and things like that, so that various trees, as you come in, could be dedicated, people could dedicate them and those types. We get a lot of people who like to have a tree or a park bench or something dedicated, so that's another kind of get the community involved
Good
in helping
avenue.
build a park.
And with excavating for these courts, we can utilize that cut all around here to really kind of create a rolling, if we wanted to do that, and could buffer the sound and the visual from Moses Lane.
What kind of surface do the various courts have, tennis and that?
That would be an asphalt.
Is that also what
The bocce?
bocce is?
No, bocce, you have some choices. Usually,
But not bocce.
Pickleball.
pickle serve is, the tennis court surface acts as the
They play
bocce
on
court
the hard
service.
surface
Yeah.
also?
Is that hard surface, is the asphalt, didn't we talk about all weather at one point?
Yeah, so it's an asphalt with a DecoTurf finish, which is sort of like a layer mat that goes on top of it. So it's softer. It's set up for its kind of athletic uses.
And I have another, I'm sorry, Kimberly, did I
No, go
interrupt you?
ahead.
I had another question on the bocce. When I had discussion with someone who's involved with the bocce leagues,
Oh, yeah?
they said to me, you can't have just 2, you have to have 4. Do you know anything about that?
In this concept, we actually show 4.
Okay.
Because that was, I think it goes back to our initial conversation we had, and I think
Right.
it was part of that was they recommend having 4 courts.
Yes. And so
I
my
think it's
oth-
for the
So
competitions.
my other question is, they're north-south as well? Do they have to be north-south, or can they be turned this way?
North-south is best for orientation, for keeping the sun out of
Okay.
players' eyes. That's, yeah. And
Same with
so for
bocce
the-
then?
Bocce, tennis court,
know
yeah,
tennis,
all the
yeah.
courts, the north-south is the best orientation, which
Right.
we have on this site.
And my last question is, the entrance there, I remember that entrance was not opposite the village. Is that a village road on the other side?
Yes.
It's not opposite that right now. Is that correct?
It's offset by about 20 feet.
Yeah. So that's a little wrong there.
That
I
can
think
be
it's a
adjusted.
little further to the north. Is that correct? I mean, to the west. West. Yeah. I just wanted to clarify that because we've had people concerned about that, and I said, oh, no, it's not there. It's over further.
Yeah.
So,
Should it be offset, or should it be across
Usually,
design safety standpoint?
Usually you either have to be right across or offset about 150 feet. It's usually what the code requires for safety, for turning in and out on each road. So that we aligned it, just that's how we normally would do it.
I think that neighborhood was concerned about that.
Yeah, they were.
That's why we changed it.
We had about 3 different neighbors were afraid about the traffic coming out, headlights, even though it won't be open at night. And then we were asked, Nancy, I don't know if you were the trustee that brought that to us, but we decided we would offset that and about 20 feet. It might have been something about traffic and speeding across the intersection.
I knew they were upset, but I don't think I was the one who brought it to you. But I just thought it happened that way. That it just the trucks went in there, and that's how it all happened. But I think they were concerned because they saw the
Yeah, they
plan
were.
and they didn't really want that across from them.
We moved it as far west as we thought we could without encroaching on the next neighbor's parcel.
Which I understand.
And I'll give it back to him, but I just want to mention this grant again. We spoke to Jen Messiano this morning. The grant is a 50% match, so a $500,000 project, $250,000 would come from the state parks. Of course, we have to qualify, and there might be some other costs above that, but basically it would take care of half of the price tag.
That's great.
Gary, is there a component of this that you would do, or does this go out to bid to?
We'd actually be going in there and doing the grubbing and maybe some leveling of the area. I know we talked about using village forces, but because we do not have a bulldozer or an operator for a bulldozer, I think you would make better sense to have a little more speed in there and have a contractor handle that. Mm-hmm. But we can go over and flag out the whole area and get there and have it cleared and take that much off of it.
And where are we on the walking trail, Gary?
The walking trail continues to be 3/4 done. We ran out of asphalt millings. We'll be paving in the next couple weeks, and we'll get more millings. And we'll be taking that 3/4 done trail, and we'll be top dressing that to finish that better. The rest of it, we're really waiting at this point until this project gets going so we can connect to it.
And that trail is pretty wide when I looked at it.
I looked at it too. It looks nice, actually.
Yeah, it looks very nice.
It came in about 10 to 12 feet wide, which was just ease of putting the stuff down. And should we want to narrow it, we can narrow it and put some wood chips on the side just to make it look a little better.
No, I think it's nice wide because if you have people with strollers or
Three friends can
chairs
walk
or something,
together.
they can get by. Yeah.
Gary, how much parking for cars on the property?
Yeah, Steve says he's planned on 39 spaces.
Oh, great. Just if you try to park on Moses Lane, you are creating a serious issue.
Also, we'll probably take some of this, we may have a gift of bluestone coming back from the heliport because we're doing some renovations up there, so some of that price tag will come off the project. And the village also has town requirement contracts for asphalt, that some of those parking stalls will have to put in asphalt for ADA parking, et cetera. Okay.
I have two questions. Go ahead.
Thank you, Nancy. Steve, if I may ask, some of the neighbors have approached us, as you know, and they have an issue with noise. It's my understanding, even though we have a lot of pickleball enthusiasts, it's also a lot noisier than tennis. Can you tell us a little bit about how you abate that noise with what you put in front of those courts?
With the fill or the cut that would come out of here, we could create a fairly large berm that could circle around the south side, and that helps. That is a good attenuating device for sound. It'll bounce off it or deflects right off it. So that's the idea: is to get the courts low. Like the village code is to have 3 foot courts have to be 3 foot sunken. That's what we were trying to grade down to. It's about 3 feet down, and then bring that soil around. So, and then plant it. And once you plant on top of it, that's going to go a long way to block the sound.
Do we actually know the decibel blockage, meaning the decibels of a tennis court, and what really gets, meaning if it goes from 75 down to, do we know anything around that?
We could do some research to get that to you, yeah. I don't know it offhand, though.
And what would the ongoing maintenance be for this? Once we put it in, what do we need to keep it up and keep it in good condition?
Fairly low maintenance, this development. I think it's, I don't know what mowing would be involved. I don't know if any kind of mowing would be, if we did lawn areas.
Yeah,
Sort of talked
we would
about
probably
that.
the whole meadow would probably be getting mowed, twice a season per se, and then when we get a little bit closer there, we'd be in there once a week mowing, and or using battery blowers.
Thank you, Gary.
We aren't proposing any restrooms here right now. I think that's something that
I can see where that's going to become necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know how people are over there playing, and what if they have to go to the bathroom?
right. Well, you could do.
I think we're going to have to consider that.
You probably will.
Where would they go on the plan if?
We have another iteration of this. We had it over here,
Yeah.
kind of upland as far north as possible in this area. that's kind of why there were a couple of reasons why we had these courts staggered, because we had some amenities designed here, and as the site kind of opens up to the east, we kind of utilize that to place some amenities on the north side like that. There was a turnaround circle at one point too here, but we're trying to see where we can reduce costs so we can make this a reality.
I know we have a nice IA-supported restroom at Lake Agawam. What do we have at Downs Park? Do we have a restroom there?
We do.
We
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Okay.
We definitely do, and
It's not
I think
IA.
It's not IA
I
standard,
think it is. I
No,
think
can't
what it
be.
was.
not an IA
Came later.
system.
No? Oh, not an IA system, I'm sorry.
We don't have one at Roscoe, but that's only one court.
Yeah, people live there, so
But everybody in the village can use that as long as they have a permit.
they do, but not many do.
I think, my only comment is that generally, courts are kind of reserved for an hour. And, you think of most places, if you go to the school and you're going to play tennis at the school, there's not a restroom available. I mean, I think ideally at some point in time, but I don't think it's necessary in the first phase.
Yeah, again, we've been talking about this for a while, so we're trying to bring this in at a good price point. Put Porta Labs out there. We put 2 of them out there, let them go for a season or so, and then come revisit it in a couple of years and decide.
Yep.
Good idea, Gary.
Yep.
Good.
I think that's it from our.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So just next steps, is there something that we need to get specifications for going to bid or otherwise?
So the next step, this is a conceptual
budget?
plan. We would have to develop construction drawings for this to create a bid package. So it'd be details, specifications, and we would handle our proposal to handle the bids and management, construction management.
And my recommendation would be that we would establish a capital project with a budget, and then, we can see, that would enable Aris to put the plans together, put bid specs together, and then if we needed to amend the budget, we could amend the budget at that point, but that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, which we'll go ahead and do. But I think there's going to be a great use of space, to be honest with you. It's, that flat area and then sort of a grassy meadow through there with the sporadic bushes and stuff. Makes it pretty attractive.
Yeah, it's great use for the
Yeah.
space.
Yep. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good evening. I'd like to remind you of, in fact, I was peripherally involved in fighting that 16 McMansion development that was proposed for those shy 11 acres. And the credit for defeating that should go to 2 local women. And it shows how much 1 or 2 people in a village can do. A Mrs. DeLorean, and by the way, of course I don't remember the names, although I think they're splendid women. And this is not because of my venerable old age, which I will admit to, it's obvious, but because I never remembered names, only social security numbers. Anyway, there was a Mrs. DeLorean and Valerie something, and I'm really embarrassed because they deserve a major tribute. And I was there to watch the planning board's attorney behave so rudely to them that one time I got up because he was saying, "We're not here to answer your questions." I said, "What in heaven's name else are you here for but to answer the questions of the residents?" The board did not even know about exactions. Surely you all know what exactions are. It is what the village board must, in representing the residents and the community, demand of a developer in return for giving the permit, such as lower density, more amenities, parking space, and so forth. They didn't even know. They were bleating about the developer's rights. The developer has absolutely no rights until the board grants it. At any rate, everybody here is to be congratulated on this. What an improvement over another expansive thing with McMansions there, and not year-round residents, about which, by the way, I'd like to make one remark about the debate last Friday, which was extraordinarily illuminating. It really was. There was an awful lot of posturing about making the business section more vibrant. Someone seems to have forgotten that there is a national secular trend against brick and mortar in favor of online shopping. However, in our village, a major problem is the Epley administration zoning code, which drove out 2/3 of our local year-round residents and replaced wonderful little ranches and colonials with McMansions. These second home owners do not vote here. They do not shop here, except at, Ralph Lauren, which that we can all do in the city. And to think that you can revive this business section without changing the residence code and the zoning code, and without starting to protect what is left of our year-round residents is simply naive. Anyhow, thank you for this. This was wonderful. The green. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you, Evelyn. Is there anybody else who'd like to make a comment about Moses? If not, did you?
Yeah, the only thing we're still technically kind of in the public comment. I didn't know whether or not, because I don't think Gary's staying for the whole meeting, but maybe Gary could just let the residents know when you're considering to start the paving, because I know that we're getting into that season. Maybe not necessarily where yet, but so that you get a time frame of when you think you're going to start.
We're paving our streets of the
Paving
village.
the streets, yeah.
Not
Yes,
that.
paving the streets in the village.
Yeah, I'd rather stay away from locations so I don't get a lot of phone calls.
Correct, right.
Pickle drivers.
Yes.
Pickle drivers, yeah.
Shortly after the budget year starts, we put together our paving list, and Bill has signed some purchase orders and spent some of our budget for paving. What we generally do is we try to pick 5 or 6 roads that we can do right as the summer starts. These roads are always away from the business district. They're secondary roads. So we have about 6 roads that'll get paved on the outskirts of the village, quieter areas. That will start in about 2 weeks, just coinciding with school gets out, because the contractor is also going to be paving school areas as well. And then some of the roads that are in the more populated areas will come back in the late fall and do that. Even Job's Lane is one we considered doing. That'll probably be happening in November and such, just to try to be a little bit more kind to the residents as they drive around.
Thank you. We have no public hearings, but we have a communication to the board.
The town of Southampton has notified the village of a public hearing to amend their Chapter 330, Section 169 of their town code to increase the number of members on the Architectural Review Board from 5 to 7, and to increase the terms from 1 year to 4 years.
Interesting. So they're increasing the number of?
Yes.
From 5 to 7. Okay.
And their terms were only a year, and now they're making them 4.
Yeah, they're staggering.
We're going to stagger them.
Oh, they're
Is that-
staggering.
yeah.
And do they have alternates?
I don't believe they do.
But they're increasing the number of board members.
So the quorum.
Yeah, they need 4 instead of the 3 to pass a resolution.
Interesting. Okay, and we have suggested resolutions.
Seek a motion resolved that the reading of the minutes for the public session of May 21st, 2019 be dispensed with, and those minutes be accepted as filed by the village administrator, and that the actions taken at that meeting be and hereby are ratified and approved. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That the motion resolved that the claims for the warrants dated June 13th, 2019, totaling $476,118.84, warrant number 1, general fund for the budget year 2018-19, $437,052.94 for warrant number 2, general fund, $212,085.19 warrant number 1, Capital Reserve Fund, and $15,871.68 warrant number 2, Trust Fund, and the village payrolls for the periods ended May 23rd, 2019 and June 6th, 2019 be audited and approved.
Make the motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay. Going through the bill, starting with the 2018-19 budget year. Barboy Products, $2,192.50. That's half of the cost of 2 refrigeration units at Cooper's Beach. We have an agreement with the vendor there that they are going to pay 50% of any capital equipment improvements this year at the beach. Black Bear Lubricants, $1,587.30. That's bulk oil and grease for Central Garage. We have Blue Tarp Financial Inc. That's a Kohler engine for the park's spray rig. Carlin Jacks, $3,918.85. That's uniforms for all DPW divisions. Cass Productions, $2,330. That's the videographer. Shaliff and Rogers, $1,031.25. That's for their work on the Pierce Concert project. Coaching Systems, LLC, $1,120.01. That's ambulance response books and training manuals. Patrick Collins, $1,000. That's medical reimbursement. Dave's Tools, Inc., $1,990. That's a diagnostic scan upgrade for Allison Transmissions for Central Garage. Dell Marketing, $5,758.25. That's replacement computers for the ambulance. Samuel Diamond, $1,000. That's medical reimbursement. Firematic Supply, $3,790.97. That's a Super Duty Master Air Gun for the fire department and the accoutrements. Fluid Imagery, $2,338.50. That's technology support and various equipments for various departments throughout the village. Richard Fowler, $1,810, a medical reimbursement for both fire and ambulance. Flowers Garden Center, $6,105.96. That's flowers and organic fertilizers for the Parks Department. General Code Publishers Corporation, $9,943. That's the annual subscription for the microfiche for the building department and online code services. Christian Glanz, $1,000 medical reimbursement. Global Monticello Group, $6,590.41. That's diesel fuel. Granger, $5,058.80. That's various supplies and picnic tables. Herrick Hardware, $2,201.38. That's monthly supplies, materials for all departments. Hildreth's, $2,637. That's for park benches. Ingerman Smith, $5,428.45. That's February through April outside counsel for a litigation case. Island Tech Services, $2,635.98. That's a workstation for the fire department. Johnson Electrical Construction Corp., $19,368.58. That's traffic signals. Sean King, $1,000 medical reimbursement. Lance Nill, $10,300. That's repairs on the slate as well as front and side doors at 25 Jobs Lane. Lipsky Enterprises, Inc., $215,734.62. The $21,000 is for Pierce Concert project. The $194,734 is for the Nugent Carriage House, which is 80% reimbursable from a grant. Kenneth Lockhart, $1,000 medical reimbursement. Mark Maddock, $1,000 medical reimbursement. Lisa McCulley, $1,002.96. That's travel reimbursement from a training. McKesson Medical Surgical, $1,246.95. That's ambulance medical supplies. Messiano Consulting, $2,376.50. That's grant writer and support. Morgan Auto, $2,565.92. Central Garage Auto Supplies. Nelson Pope and Voorhees, $9,363.50. That's environmental consultant for various boards. Norsec and Son, $5,893.95. That's municipal waste. Office of the State Comptroller, $7,981. That's the state portion of fines from the courts. Christopher Olchek, $1,008.19. A medical reimbursement and a small travel reimbursement. Optimum, $1,932.77. Internet service for multiple departments. Perform printing, $1,969.20. That's parking tickets for the police department. Stephen Phillips, $1,000 medical reimbursement. Pine Barrens Printing, $1,015.60. That's Cooper's Beach Supplies. Pitney Bowes, $3,420.99. That's postage. PSEG Collection Services, $4,546.47. That's electric. Ronco, $2,868.16. That's paper supplies for building maintenance. Kenneth Rothwell, $1,000 medical reimbursement. Safety Marking Inc., $10,360.83. That's highway line striping supplies. South Fork Asphalt. Actually, Gary, can you help me out on that? Because I did not get a chance to look that up. The $33,303. Do you know which project that was?
Is the payment been incurred already?
Yes.
That would be for drainage for Moses Lane.
Right. Thank you. I had you here. Southampton Fire Department, $3,680.85. That's training and travel reimbursement for 12 members who attended a training. Southampton Masonry, $1,248.06. That's concrete supplies. Sprague Operating, $12,403.40. That's gasoline. Suburban Auto Service, $2,646.28. That's an auto collision repair reimbursable by insurance. Suffolk County Water Authority, $1,351.19. That's water usage for various locations. The Press Newspaper Group, $1,601.01. Advertising and legal fees. Trias Inc., $5,430.47. That's repairs to the highway's vac truck. Vehicle Tracking Solutions, $1,271.47. That's GPS services. Verizon Wireless, $2,795.03. That's cell phone service. WB Mason Corp., $1,387.57. Office supplies for all departments. William Westerhoff, $1,000 medical reimbursement. June general disbursements. Carrier Corporation, $1,655. That's service agreements for HVAC at the firehouse on Hampton. Thank you. CSE employee benefit, $30,361.40. That's dental and vision. Everguard Servicing, Inc., $5,955. That's part of the playground and courts surface being done at Ann's Lane. First Presbyterian Church, $3,000. That's the parking lot rental. General Code Publishers Corporation, $1,195. That's the code book update subscription for the year. New York State Employees Health Insurance, $354,635.12. That's employee health insurance. PSEG Collection Services, this electric bill, $4,953.14. Shelter Point Life Insurance, $1,488. That's the June and July health benefit premium. Software Consultant Associates, $7,700. That's Municity Software Annual License, which is what's used by our tax receiver. Velve Top Products, $1,900. White traffic paint. Veripic Inc., $3,638. That's the annual license renewal for software, the police department. Verizon, $3,847.05. That's telephone for all village departments. Vigilant Solutions, Inc., $7,270. That's the Investigate data platform, 50 subscriptions for the police department. Our capital disbursements, High Tech Fire and Safety, $13,687.09. That's dry suits for the water rescue and parkers for the fire police in the fire department. Integrated Wireless Technologies, $11,430. That's computers for the fire department. Jeffrey T. Butler, $2,600. Architect Services for the ambulance project. Morton Buildings, $165,868.10. That's the general contractor for the ambulance. SCC Construction Management Group, $18,500. That's construction management for the ambulance barn. June trust disbursements, American Patriotic Services, $1,000. That's for the 4th of July parade expenses. And the estate of Matthew Cormick, $14,871.68. That's a tax cert payment made to the owner of the tax cert. There are no questions. All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the attached schedule of budget transfers to eliminate overages for the period May 23rd, 2019 through June 13, 2019 for the fiscal year ending May 31st, 2019.
I have a motion.
Second?
Second?
Here are the transfers. Justice Court miscellaneous, out from $693.24. Justice Court contractual services in, $693.24. Buildings, maintenance contractual services, $2,557.90 out. Buildings utilities, $1,582.50 in. Building supplies and materials, $975.40 in. Fire equipment, $18,600.37 out. Fire utilities, $18,600.37 in. Fire miscellaneous, $17,458.31 out. Fire contractual services, $17,458.31 in. Street maintenance, contractual services, $7,868.15 in. Street lighting supplies, $5,806.97 in. Street lighting electricity, $2,061.18 in. Parks equipment, $2,680.85 out. Parks contractual services, $2,109.57 in. Parks clothing, $571.28 in. Architectural in historic board contractual services, $15,476 out. Zoning board contractual services, $345.44 in. Planning board contractual services, $15,131.20 in. All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the purchase and installation of a rooftop HVAC unit for the Southampton Cultural Center not to exceed $10,000 from the Capital Reserve Facilities Fund, subject to permissive referendum. And there are 2 quotes attached. There are 2 units, if I'm not mistaken, on top of that building, and one is needs complete replacement.
Now, is that, I know they have been discussing their HVAC system. Is this what they were discussing all along? Or?
Oh, at the Cultural Center, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
We changed some ductwork in there also.
Yeah.
Right.
So are we going with the less expensive?
Yes, we'll be going with the less expensive of the 2. But because it's going to permissive referendum, I just want to make sure that we have, if they get in there and there has to be a couple more clamps or something that has to be put in, that we've...
That they're covered.
Right, because we're actually going out prior to purchasing.
Okay.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote. Trustee Yastrzemski is absent. Trustee Allen?
Aye.
Mayor Irving?
Aye.
Trustee McGann?
Aye.
Trustee Hattrick? Entertain a motion resolved that the organizational meeting of the Village of Southampton be scheduled for Monday, July 1st, 2019, in the boardroom of Village Hall. The village administrator will administer the oath of office to the village mayor and 2 trustees on the steps of Village Hall, weather permitting, at 2 p.m. The organizational meeting will commence following the oath of office.
Make a motion.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Yeah, we did change the time to 2 o'clock.
From 4.
All in favor?
Aye. You should probably make a note of that, can you, on the website?
Yes,
and change
absolutely.
it?
And we'll put something
Well,
on
and we're
the front
also,
as well.
and it'll also be noticed in the paper as well.
Okay.
And then we'll probably put a press release out as well. Okay, entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the interfund transfer from the general fund to the capital reserve for the fiscal year end May 31st, 2019. The motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Okay, so,
Dollar amount?
well, so essentially, the village board, when it adopted its 2018 and 2019 budget, as it also did in the 2019-2020 budget and many previous budgets as well, sets aside this past year $975,000 as an interfund transfer from the operating budget to capital reserve. In the past, that was just done as a matter of course. I just think it's a cleaner transaction if it's done by a resolution of the village board. So there was $975,000 that was set aside in the budget. $100,000 has been already moved from the operating budget to the capital reserve. So the remaining $875,000 would be moved into the capital reserve account. Capital reserve account, prior to this transaction, has a balance of $3,556,076.64. This would bring the capital reserve account to $4,431,076.64. Of that, approximately $1.8 million of it is encumbered. A large portion of that is the fire truck that we have on order. That would leave a balance of about $2.600,000. And then we are now in the 2019-2020 budget season, budget cycle, which again the village board adopted a budget that has $975,000 available for it to be transferred into the account.
So that brings it above $3 million.
That would bring it up to $3,607,294 unencumbered. In addition, the village also has $6 million in unallocated fund balance as well, unreserved, unallocated.
And part of our AAA bond rating was because of that, right?
Part of our AAA bond rating was because of it. There was one comment made that they would like to see us adopt a capital budget as well. So what I'm trying to do is put the finances in order so that we can then make a presentation to the board to adopt a capital budget.
Good.
All in favor? Or any more? I'm sorry, any more questions?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
But it's a good thing. That's
Yep.
very positive.
Yep.
Yes. Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees does hereby elect to provide pursuant to Chapter 674 of the laws of 2003, the age 55 retirement without benefit reduction of Section 375I or 375J of the Retirement and Social Security Law as presently or hereafter amended, and be it further resolved that the effective date of such shall be the first day of July 2019.
I'll make that motion.
Your second.
Could you explain this?
I will. The village has negotiated and entered into an agreement and contract with our Southampton Village Police Department. Part of that contract was that the village agreed to offer to its members a enhanced retirement plan. The village did get, some consideration in return, and this is the resolution that's necessary in order for us to to offer our officers this retirement plan. There are no other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby promotes Christopher Talbot to Senior Building Inspector effective June 13th, 2019.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Comments? For many years, the village had an employee who was the head of the building department that had the civil service title of building inspector. And having done that, that essentially was the person that was in charge of the building department. And since that time, civil service rules have changed and such that they now, anytime there is any type of movement, they actually look at the title that the person is sitting in and make a determination as to whether or not that's the appropriate title for the person doing those tasks. So when the village requested an additional position in the building department, which we adopted in the 2019-2020 budget, they asked who would be supervising that new building inspector, and when we replied that it would be Christopher Talbot, they said that would be fine, except his title is not appropriate for someone who is supervising the staff of the building department. That needs to be the title of senior building inspector. And since Chris had successfully passed the test and was reachable on a promotional list, they notified us that they would be changing his title to senior building inspector, and we need to just codify that through this resolution. It does not change any, it doesn't come with any change in remuneration or compensation. He has been compensated as the supervisor of that department. This is just giving him the appropriate title for that position. If there's no other questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves 4 credits of municipal training attended by ARB Chairwoman Stevenson on May 15th, 2019, to be rolled forward to the village fiscal year of 2020. Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Ms. Stevenson, there's a letter attached here, looked at the schedule of training that was upcoming for the midsummer into the fall, and most of the trainings that would have been appropriate would have taken on some considerable travel, Western Suffolk, Nassau County. This class was offered in Riverhead on May 15th. It's 15 days shy of the new year, so I think it would be common for the board to accept that as 4 hours credit for the next fiscal year. She did complete the mandatory training for the year 2018-19.
And we discussed that on carrying those credits forward.
So all in favor?
Aye.
She's a superstar.
Superstar. Discussion items. We're going to sort of switch the order around here so that we have Caesar up there, who has a memorial walk for the Hispanic American Association on July 14th, 2019.
It's item number 5, right?
Okay.
Yeah, number 5.
Caesar, did you want to address the board regarding it?
My name is Cesar Malaga, the president of the Hispanic American Association. We march in this memorial for the lady that helped us in many ways to the Hispanics, and I think she deserves proper, memorial from us. So, as indicated, what I'll be doing is we'll have a mass for her at our radio, Heart and Jesus and Mary. And from there, we'll be walking from the church to the cemetery. And of course, the walking will be, as usual, with the American flag, followed by, by the picture of the lady who died, and followed by a wreath, and behind the wreath will be the husband, which we hope to be able to, take him in a wheelchair. And as of now, of course, I will be releasing a press release to the organizations and to the news media, but I cannot do it until your approval. Right. So that is what we plan to do, and I hope it does not rain that day.
Caesar, can you just describe the route again?
Where are you going?
Can you describe the route?
Right.
We're going from the church.
Which church?
Cemetery.
Sacred Heart's
We'll
Church.
have a police guard, I hope. And then I already spoke with the state police also to cross Sunrise Highway or Route 39. So that's all arranged. So I just wait for the approval to do the rest of it.
And then at the end, do you walk back? At the end, do you walk back, or are there people
No, at the
waiting?
end, we'll be discharging out. We have a small ceremony, then
Yeah.
I was thinking, maybe we can have the little mini taxis from the village that take us to the beaches or that. Line up out there, so some of the people who stop walking back, they can, take the ride in those little mini taxis.
It's a long walk.
It's a long one.
It is.
What time are you going?
Yes.
At what time?
12:30?
The mess at 12:30, and after probably the mess will be 1 hour. So we'll probably be walking about 1:30, 2 o'clock from the church to the cemetery.
And I'll just say that Carol Whitby was such a significant contributor to the Hispanic community.
She was so benevolent to many of us.
Many.
There's like many things. She was the mother that we didn't have here,
Yep.
So she was a great person.
Many of the individuals, I'm sure, were just coming into the country and had nothing, and she was helping them out.
She helped us in many ways. As a matter of fact, many of the people who cannot get a job that day, they have, money to eat, and she provided food. And many of them didn't have the money to pay the rent. She lent them money until they get some job and pay the money back. I hope all of them that they borrow money paid. I hope.
And I think she often bought them all dinners or lunches at McDonald's there too. So
She was a terrific lady. We will never forget you. So as I say, it's like an angel was sent to us from heaven to protect us here.
And Mr. Mayor, the route that Caesar spoke about would be, they would be at Sacred Hearts, and then they would come down and go on to Windmill Lane, and from Windmill Lane to North Sea Road, and then cross over from there over to Sacred Heart Cemetery.
And pretty much on the sidewalk, right?
Part of it, I was talking to the state police up in the highway. This is small sidewalk. So I hope, we can fit all of it. I don't know how many are coming.
Yeah.
Once I make the press release or send the email to the other organizations, I don't know.
And the other part is that you had asked if we could, which it's in your packets, if the village would allow a sign to be put up that would invite people to join for the walk. And we talked about, how far in advance that could be. I know Caesar had asked if it could be soon, but we said,
welcome.
Could it be too long?
To join us in the parade, for the walk.
Well, Caesar, you're going to have to remind me, but I'd love to walk with you. I don't know if I can make it that whole way. That's
It's a long, it's a pretty long walk. Yeah.
We can arrange for a wheelchair.
Oh, nice.
I might only make it as far as the graveyard.
So we were hoping the chief would be here tonight, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Chief
maybe we could get a meeting.
Yes,
With
I'll
chief.
try to arrange for a meeting with the chief.
Yes, right.
in the next couple of weeks.
Right. I think that would be important.
And by the way, I didn't mention that we are asking also to put a sign up there,
Yes.
so that people can read, they can get informed.
right. There's a copy of it.
Well, I hope you grant us the permission to put a sign out there.
Yeah, I don't think a sign would be a problem, Caesar. You just got to take it down. But Gary, that's CPF property, though, isn't it?
It would be in the village right away.
Small sign, 18 by 30,
Yeah.
36.
In the
You'd have
village
to,
right away. Yeah.
And,
yeah, you'd have to move it out so that it's not behind the bushes because
no,
that's-
it'd be, by the sidewalk, someone, they can read it,
Yeah.
Or
You can
someone
coordinate that with Gary
7-Eleven,
and
you
Julie.
can read the sign.
yeah.
It will not be, obstructing anything.
I think the next step is that we can set a meeting up with the chief to review the route and the resources we would need. And then, if we can work that out, we can get it right back here to the board on the 25th. Would that?
25th, yeah.
By the way, we have all the insurance that's necessary.
Right.
Required.
Subject to.
Yeah, would it be possible, would the board consider approving it now with conditionally based on the chief's input?
I have no problem with that.
You need a motion?
Yep.
So moved.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Second.
All in
So,
favor?
well, before, let's just clarify that the Village Board of Trustees approves the walk-run of the Hispanic American Association on Sunday, July 14th, 2019, approximately 1:30 p.m., subject...
It says 12:30
Yeah,
to
because
2:30.
12:30 is when it starts at Sacred Hearts, and then
Okay.
I don't know if they're going to need police assistance
Okay.
up at Sacred Hearts, and then, so I'm putting in a full 2-hour span.
Okay,
just
sorry,
to be-
12:30, beginning at 12:30 p.m., subject to approval or an agreed-upon plan with the chief of police.
Subject to conditions that the police department shall recommend.
All in favor?
Aye. Caesar, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, back to discussion items. Helipad parking area restrictions. The parking area at the helipad is for village permit vehicles only. But this year, the Piping Plover have pretty much decided that they like the picnic area beach. And although I don't think we know now what they're going to do with the beach, but it looks possibly imminent that they may close that area. So Gary and I have been trying to take a look at and see what we could do, and we've come up with a number of options, including shuttling people down the roadway there and then letting them off, particularly people that have a hard time getting around on the beach, so that they can enjoy the days. And so we're looking at what to do with the parking down there. Should we or should we not allow four-wheel drive permit individuals park in our village parking lot? So that's really an item that's up for discussion in your input.
So the issue...
You may want to come forward and...
I was going to say, the issue you're raising is currently the parking lot is restricted only to the village residents who obtained a village parking permit. And it has nothing to do with the four-wheel drive, but I think what Michael is saying, because of the conditions, he wants to open that up to other parties who have the village four-wheel drive parking pass, who may or may not be village residents, also to park there. In the count, they may need to shuttle.
That's pretty much correct. We've been meeting with the town trustees who run our Plover program, and we're bound by their program and Fish and Wildlife. We are being told that around June 27th, if the current chicks hatch, that beach will shut down for the month of July. We'd be into early August before that would open back up when the chicks fledge. And Mike and I have been trying to talk about any way we can do to help out those people down there. And Mike brought up that maybe we can use the four-wheel drive stickers as an ID, so that for 1 month we would allow 4-bys from the town who carry our sticker to park in our lot. Our lot holds 64 spaces, and generally on the busiest days it's half full. I would expect if people are going to be driving to Southampton to park in a parking lot, a lot of people who come from west of the canal wouldn't make the journey. So that parking lot would hopefully handle that influx.
So I don't understand if the plovers are hatching there, is that all fenced off and they'll know where not to go? Or, I understand not driving on the beach, but is walking on the beach allowed?
Yes. It just has to be closed to four-wheel drive traffic. So what we've also talked about is a little shuttle service that at the end of Jim Mary Way, we would fence off the beach so vehicles could not get on. But we would come up with some sort of shuttle plan on Saturdays and Sundays that we could take any seniors or people who have difficulty walking in the sand, help people who have a lot of burdensome items, and basically drop them off at the foot of the dune and then run back. You know, we do have a lot of other beach parking that they can go to, but those lots fill up quickly as well. So we feel there'll be a need down there.
I mean, there's really, I guess there's, in the town, there's two sets of permits. Town has a regular beach parking permit, which we really didn't look at because we aren't really opening it up to town parking. But we looked at the fact that most of your four-wheel drives that use the picnic area have a town four-wheel drive permit, and then they get the village permit in conjunction with it. And this would be a way to relieve the pressure of these people who frequently use that beach. I mean, the car counts down there can be fairly high. Last weekend it wasn't that high, but it was 26 cars that were parked in the picnic area. So.
And were there people on the beach with cars last weekend?
26.
On the beach?
Yes.
It's still allowed at this point until the chicks hatch.
Yeah.
God, you could roll over the eggs. I don't understand how
They are fenced off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they call it symbolic fencing, but where the eggs are, no vehicles can go.
Right. That was my question before.
Okay.
Do we know how long it's going to be fenced off?
It's until they fledge, until they can fly away,
All of July.
which they expect through the month of July into the first week of August. And we get weekly updates from the town trustee's office, let us know how that's going. Also, if we ran a shuttle down there, we've asked the town, as part of the plan, they would put a plover monitor down there. So anytime we're down there with a vehicle turning around on the beach in a fenced-off area, they would have someone there looking out for any of the chicks that are around. This is all part of Fish and Wildlife's plan.
So County Park, are they down there too, or just they're down there?
Yeah.
So the County Park is going to be closed off too?
Yeah, they're canceling many reservations as we speak.
And are we going to put some fencing along just in case some people go down on the County Park? They won't be allowed to go on the County Park, I guess.
The County Park will control their area, but the town trustees will set up a 1,000-kilometer perimeter. I'm saying it's a 1,000-meter perimeter where they'll put fencing up on each side.
We do have fencing between the village and the park now, so it's,
You know, we realize a lot of these people are town residents, not village, but, you know, these are friends and neighbors. Many of them started in the village and couldn't afford to live here and had to move out to the town, so we're trying to be nice as we can.
So hypothetically, somebody who previously could have driven on Picnic Beach and put out their equipment for, you know, drinks and libations and food and whatever else, Frisbee and music, they now come to the parking lot, and we have up to 64 spots. And then there would be a vehicle there to help them with heavy items to get onto the beach, where they would then find a spot that was outside of the fenced areas.
Correct. We would go right to the dune where we would stop, according to plan, drop them off, and then as far as they wanted to walk along the shore, that's up to them. But we suggest just doing that shuttle Saturday and Sunday. I don't know if you want to pick 9 to 5 or however that goes. We'd have to figure out how to staff that.
I mean, there is a cost factor involved in this, but for the last couple of years, I think we made great inroads on controlling the picnic area. We haven't had as many complaints and issues, and I think we've had more helicopter issues than we have picnic issues. So, you know, I'd like to try to keep that going, and
well, you'll have lots of control this year. Those plovers have really Really, they're the best control I've ever seen.
They do cause a little bit of trouble.
No arguing with that.
Do you think that we should, if we're considering this, we should approach the town since they charge for a four-wheel drive permit and we do not charge? Ours is free and theirs costs money. That it's one thing if we say you can park in this parking lot and we amend the code, but it's another thing to take on both the cost and the risk. Because one of the things I'm going to be very strong about is that no one's touching anyone else's equipment. They load it on whatever we're driving them on, and they unload it. I learned that from handling transfer stations, and that there's a lot of liability. And I think if we're going to partner with the town by using their sticker that they're charging for. We'd like to. We're putting out the olive branch. We should probably see if they.
No, we should.
That.
That's a good idea.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, on the town side, what they would be doing at this point is putting the plover monitor down there where it would have to sit there, and they would pay that person as well. So, not quite 50-50, but yeah, they are contributing.
They get a lot of money for those plover monitors.
Right, and I'm going to skip out after this one, but I saw that you have the balloon legislation right there.
Right.
I just want to let you know, before our vehicles have been shut down because of all the plover traffic, every pass that we're going down on the beach, we've been picking up about one pickup load of balloons each pass.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
It's only twice a week, pretty much, but we do. We just fill them up. They're not new, they're old, they've been out at sea for a long time, but they're there. It's the most garbage we pick up is balloons.
Unbelievable. So that's interesting, Gary, because someone said to me today, you'd think we'd want to go after plastic water bottles because they're so prevalent. Why are we looking at, plastic balloons? Because they're much more infrequent, but we're seeing them much more, right?
Now that we have deposits on everything, you're not seeing them as much. There are plastic bottles there, no doubt. But it's mostly balloons.
The deposits have really helped on the pickup. But when you run offshore, you just see, it's absolutely amazing. You see big clumps of balloons just floating out there.
And strings, I'm sure, too.
And the strings, yeah.
So we would have to pass a resolution to have a public hearing to amend the code? Or no?
We can discuss that, but I think what first is, I don't think you're amending the code. I think you're just suspending enforcement and authorizing the mayor to do that. But I think we need some more details as to how that would be accomplished.
Yeah.
And I think we could probably get it together by next meeting and get more information from the town trustees in conjunction with Gary so that we have more details how that would be so that everyone can be notified. Because if there's going to be a difference of regulations and a whole process, we need to have that and have people have notice of that.
Yeah, and we should probably have date too, when it starts and then when it ends.
Well, I would assume if you do adopt this at your next meeting, it would probably be immediately thereafter. I mean, you're getting into the summer weekends at that point.
Yep. So we'll do that. Okay. Thank you, Gary.
Wait a minute, Gary, we need you.
Next week we have the Hamptons Marathon. And I think there's a discussion of the fee.
So at the last meeting when we raised the issue, I was asked to go back to the Hamptons Marathon organizers and ask them how much they donate back and who those beneficiaries were. So in 2018, they had a total of $31,000 in donations that came back. $13,000 was to Stony Brook Southampton Hospital, $8,000 to SYS. Village Ambulance received $2,000. The Southampton Educational Foundation through the school received $6,000, $1,000 for Project Most, and $1 point for Flying Point Autism Foundation. And the plan is this year is, hopefully to do the same. Obviously, it depends on how much money they raise. But the beneficiaries at this point would be the same, although, as always, they say if there's a particular group that the village would like them to, support, I'm sure they would be willing to look at that as well.
When do we have to let them know?
Well, they actually just emailed again yesterday to see when we would be able to give them a decision because they're marketing and trying to sell their spaces as quickly.
How much do they totally raise, do you know?
I don't know. I could ask them for a P&L.
Generally, if we're thinking about gifting, because we think there's a public benefit, you would ask for the prior year's.
Form 990, yeah.
Right.
It wasn't listed yet that I could see, but I will ask them for it.
Right. Even if we got the unaudited.
Because I thought they had a much higher return a few years prior. Weren't they much higher?
Yes.
They made a lot more money.
They made a lot more money. Yeah.
The first year they did much, much better.
Yeah.
Then they moved it, and so it was a much smaller turnout. And then last year, the turnout was a little bit better, but it still wasn't what the first year was. And then, of course, last year they had, higher expenses.
Last year they had higher expenses because of what?
Well, because previously they.
Oh, I know this one.
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
Kimberly doesn't sound too
And the county, and the troopers were, it's the town police.
She's looking at me like,
The town police had a large
If you're good with it.
bill as well.
yeah.
Because I just remember the numbers being in the 90,000 range when we first discussed this.
Well, the first year, I'm not sure that we charged them anything for being
Now
in
we're
the
charging
village.
for the
First year
police.
and I don't know if the town, I think that the town also helped.
The town does give a reduced, I believe. I'm fairly certain.
But I think the first year they may have done it
Correct.
significantly reduced,
Yes.
again, to help support them by kind of seeing how it would work in Southampton as opposed to being in East Hampton where they had been out in Springs. So I think that first year, everyone was very generous, and then subsequently.
So many years have we been doing this? And how many years were they out in East Hampton, do you know?
I think at least 4.
I mean, it is a pretty big and well-attended run, so consequently, overseeing it is a large endeavor.
It is.
And,
Where were we at, 13?
What we were proposing?
Yes.
yeah, 13,
And then, the golf carts.
Right, okay.
because we also have to rent a number of golf carts.
Right.
And you have emergency services that has to be present, and it's not a small endeavor.
They do hold the registration at Southampton High School.
Interestingly, the contact person is from North Carolina.
Yes, so that is a new thing for them. This group started last year as their event. Prior to that, it had just been the 2 founders who were trying to do it all themselves, and that's very challenging. A support group for them to help.
Professional race.
Professional race.
Sponsor, yeah.
So after you've done your walk on the 14th,
Then I'm going to do my run.
Yeah.
More than a run. It's a marathon.
Swimming, and then you'll be ready for polar bear plunge. Perfect. Doing swimming, so you're fine.
Courts will be ready for the bocce ball tournament.
So would you like me to go back to them and ask for their most recent Form 990 for P&L? Okay.
I think it would be interesting to take a
I
look
think it would
at.
be too.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then on 3, we have Hope for Depression, which is a much smaller event, but pretty well attended. And I guess, what are they asking for, a sidewalk display, or?
Yes.
One year
We
they-
hesitate to use the
You want to read this very carefully.
Yes, but if you read in the third paragraph, it does say that the balloon is not filled with helium, nor is it of typical plastic or latex.
So it's the yellow balloons?
It's the yellow,
there? Yeah.
Right.
and I actually got a separate email from one of the race coordinators today, and they already have, I think, 50 businesses that have committed to putting them out.
They just have to come up with a different name for it.
Yes. They were I thought they looked great last year.
Right.
Yeah, they really are
They're
balloons.
reusable, right, they're reusable. The one they put out last year is the one they
Is
put
the
out.
one they
I don't know
use.
what you call them.
Yeah,
Right.
it's completely reusable. They're bringing them back from last year, this year, so.
What are they filled with?
But they really aren't. It's like a
It's not
beach
filled
ball on the end of a
Right.
stick.
Right,
That gets screwed into
Why
something,
don't
so
they
they're up in the air.
right.
It's there for, and they were up for like.
Especially out here, they should be, right, they
Yeah.
should be beach balls.
Yeah, and that is what they look like.
Right.
They look like beach balls. Big, bright, bright beach balls.
Yes.
Very cheerful.
Right. So,
And
we
that's
okay? Are we okay with putting a beach ball in front, as long as that's what we call it? A beach ball in front of our...
No, it was great last
Village Hall,
year
yeah.
and the year before. They did a terrific job. So do we need to make a motion to accept them or anything?
Well, and the only other question I have is, there's really no problem with the vendors putting them out in front of their storefronts, are there? I mean...
Well, that's what you're authorizing here.
Right, okay.
This display is not just in front of the village hall. It's,
Right.
they hope to get 200 stores throughout the village. So you're talking about this display possibly 200 places throughout the village.
Right. I
Right
think
now, they have 50 as of this
Yeah,
moment. She said they have 50.
which is a good thing. If you can get every store
Yeah.
with that display, that
Yep.
Where do
what
they
you're
put it?
authorizing, as long as it's
Right by
safe.
The entryway.
They put them on,
Okay.
on the entryways or
No,
like
no.
silver platted in the back entryway.
Yeah. Right.
They give us an insurance certificate.
We can request a certificate of
Yep.
I mean, they do it for the race, right?
insurance. Yes, we already have that.
But somebody's looking at all those little details. Catching it.
So do we want to entertain a motion to permit the Hope for Depression to have their sidewalk displays contingent upon receiving the appropriate certificate of insurance for the week of July 26th through August 4th?
I'll make that motion.
Second? All in favor? It's a tough one.
And then number 4, we have the Southampton School District homecoming requests, October 14th through the 18th, 2019.
So we do this every year.
Yeah.
The date did change. Originally, it was going to be September, and then because of East Hampton High School, apparently, I believe their football team is being merged or something, the dates had to change, so the schedule changed. So they're now looking at having homecoming parade Friday, October 18th, and this year they've requested to go back using Agawam Park and going through the village. Last year they didn't go through Job's Lane or Main Street. This year they have requested it. I have already sent that request over to Chief Cummings, and the police department say they do not have any problem with it. So from their standpoint, they were okay. And then Thursday, the night before, would be the pep rally, and they've requested to use our showmobile, which I've asked Gary Gillespie and John Cause, and they also said it's not a problem. They do it every year, and they would work out the details with them.
Good.
And they want the banner on the
The
dresser,
banner on the railroad
which they
ties.
said had been stopped for a couple of years, but
Yeah. They had stopped doing one, but this year they want to do one again, so okay.
that's nice.
That'll look at the schedule. Which-
And as far as fees, we would waive fees on that?
Yes. Yep.
So we'll entertain a motion, if there are no more questions, we'll entertain a motion to permit the Southampton School District to have a parade on October 18th. Again, with the approval of the Chief of Police. Homecoming pep rally bonfire and the use of our showmobile on October 17th. And permission to have the banner hanging from the trestle.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Also subject to having a certificate of insurance as well. All in favor?
We went through the Memorial Walk, and we're going to the audio-visual bid for the Southampton Cultural Center. Design audio-visual for $102,476. If I said that right, I don't have my glasses on, but I'll look.
Yeah, that's good. So, over 3 years ago, in coordination with the village, Southampton Cultural Center received a grant for $125,000 for a multi-purpose audio-visual. Are you cameras and lights and the whole gamut. We had some problems in how they went out, and we weren't able to get a bid. We're really close and under the gun. This grant is about to expire, but our bid specs specified that they needed to do it, the installation, and get the equipment immediately. Design Audiovisual says that they can meet that. They were the only bid that came in. The bid came in at $102,476. And that's under the amount of money that we have in the grant. We'd have to lay the money out. It's reimbursable. Looking for the board to award the Southampton Village, Southampton Cultural Center audiovisual bid to Design Audiovisual for $102,476.
I'll make that motion as stated. I think we need to either move ahead quickly with this or
run.
Or not do anything. So
yes.
And the grant funding is going to pay it back. So.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good stuff.
And on number 7, we have what I think is a great thing, which is reviewing the release of Mylar-style balloons. Because as I indicated before, you go offshore, they are everywhere. You go to the beach, they're everywhere. And a lot of them are somewhat deflated. They're a real safety issue for wildlife, and particularly mammals and whales and stuff. And so often we find their carcasses, and what have they done? They've eaten a bunch of these balloons. So I guess we need to open a public hearing, or schedule a public hearing.
Well, what you have before you is a proposed local law to add a new chapter regarding balloons, and this proposal actually would create restrictions on the release of balloons. For several months now, I've been looking, and Kim Allen has been helping us look at various regulations. So East Hampton adopted a law that is pretty much on the same basis, but there is discussion. I think we want to get this out for a public hearing because there's some other aspects of the sale and possession of balloons which are more complicated in means of enforcement or otherwise. But there's certainly things we've been looking at and you can continue to look at. I think perhaps the sale of balloons would be something else you might want to consider. Possession is a little hard. You can imagine trying to take the balloon out of the little 4-year-old on the street. But this really is directed towards the intentional release. So you have people that have events and they gather a number of balloons and they'll release them, and unknowingly they end up in the ocean or wherever, and we have problems. So
And last year, we had a Mylar balloon entangle itself in the electrical wires down by Windmill, and our former mayor almost became Peking duck. He was standing right next to it. But the other part of it is there's a helium shortage in the country. I didn't realize
Yeah, they're
this.
running out of helium.
And one of the CVS said today they don't always get, and Stop and Shop said today they don't always get shipments because they have to wait for helium. The medical community has a priority. It's used for MRIs and research.
Oh, wow.
So they had a shipment come in after 2 or 3 months. But it is a big seller for them.
What, making the balloons?
Yeah, if you go to Stop and Shop and you walk in, there's a whole, they said, between Valentine's Day and Father's Day and Mother's Day and Happy Birthday, they really do a lot of business there.
Yeah, I see them offshore.
One of the things I think is important is education as well.
Yeah.
That's the important part, because if you get children to understand that the dangers of balloons, they're the ones who are going to say to their parents, no, I don't want balloons.
Right.
And as they get to be sweet 16, they're not going to want to have the balloons at their parties or at their weddings. So, that, I think, to me, that's a very, very important aspect as well.
But the town is, I agree with you. I think the town is also looking at this, Wayne. I didn't know if you knew that.
Yes.
And
We're aware of
apparently
that.
they're also kind of using this release as the starting point, and they said they might even, is that strong enough to really make a difference? So, but
Well, I think as we go into the public hearing,
we'll hear more.
we'll
I
look
think
at
there's,
this.
from a regulatory standpoint, the state of California took on balloons as a statewide matter. And certainly, with our little village and other boundaries and so on, it becomes a question of changing habits and et cetera. But certainly there's a lot of discussions that this will promote. So I think this would be a resolution to schedule a public hearing on your July 11th meeting.
And when we do this, can we also be proactive and let the businesses know who are selling the balloons? I think most of them know, but just as a safety mechanism.
And how do we stop the balloon vendors who come in for 4th of July?
Well, that goes to another, you would have to prohibit the sale of balloons in the village,
Which we may look at.
which this law doesn't do, but I'm just saying is that's an area that if you want to go there, we can consider that as well.
But I think Nancy's point is, I bought my balloon in Islip, and now I'm here, right?
Well, no, my concern is the people who walk around with 30 balloons to sell.
On 4th of July.
And there are 10 of them or more.
Yeah.
Well, you would, that goes to the element of prohibiting the sale of the balloons within the village boundaries. So, but the next part of it is I bought it in Islip and I brought it here.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a lot to discuss and consider.
We'll entertain a motion to schedule a public hearing on a local law amending the code of the Village of Southampton to add a new chapter 40, balloons, regulating the release of balloons. And it further be resolved that the village administrator hereby authorized and directed to publish the following notice of public hearing for Thursday, July 11th, 2019 at 6 p.m. prevailing time.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 8, again, scheduling a public hearing in regards to landscaping on flag lots and tennis courts.
So this is a proposal that is generated from the building department. And Kim Allen and I have been discussing this with Chris Talbot in the building department. And so a few years back in the early 2000s, the village board reviewed flagpole lots and some of the impacts that are created as a result of that, and tennis courts. And the code now currently requires that if you're creating or constructing on a flagpole lot, or you propose a tennis court, you must implement and provide particular screening and landscaping as part of that. And then it goes a step further and requires that that landscape and screening plan and specifications all be submitted to the planning board. And it goes on their agenda, and pretty much it's scheduled. There may be a question or comment. It's sent to our environmental planning consultant, and then it may take at least one meeting, if not, in many cases, 2 or 3 meetings. But the building department has found since the last decade or more that the planning board has pretty much developed a set specifications, including, it's now on their application forms. You heard it tonight about tennis courts. It's not in our code. Pretty much they require tennis courts to be sunk 3 feet with certain specs and drainage specs and so on. And it's pretty much pro forma. And if you meet those specifications, the process with the planning board is pretty straightforward. And a lot of times, really, in some cases, someone would say it's not necessary. It's more of a ministerial review. So this proposed law is trying to recognize that ministerial review and have the building department, in consultation with what the planning board is doing, develop these specifications and give the authority to the building inspector to approve in the first instance. It will eliminate that review of the planning board and the consultant, all this time that goes by. And if one complies with those specifications, the building department can issue the permit. If you disagree with those specifications, or you don't want to meet them, you want to appeal that, then you would go to the planning board. So that's what this proposed law, and this was generated by Chris Talbot and his recommendation to do that, and it would be an amendment to the zoning code.
And a lot of it, if I'm not mistaken, is a cost factor too. It costs a lot to send these applications to our Nelson Pope and Voorhees, have them review it, and when it's a pretty straightforward procedure.
So if there are no other questions, entertain a motion resolved to schedule a public hearing on a local law amending Chapter 116-9A 11F and 116-11F6 to require landscaping and screening of tennis courts and flagpole lots as per specifications of the building inspector. And further resolved that the village administrator be hereby authorized and directed to publish the following notice of public hearing, that this public hearing would take place Thursday, July 11th, 2019 at 6 p.m. prevailing time at Southampton Village Hall.
Make the motion.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to skip that meeting.
Me too.
You know,
Come
by
on, you
voting
two.
tonight, you have to come.
Yeah. Then we're just going to keep doing that.
Yeah.
We'll adjourn things till the next meeting.
Until you appear.
Yeah.
Number 9, we have sound actuarial GSB 75 proposal, and I believe that's an audit. So maybe...
Every 3 years, we're obligated, as part of our independent audit, to have a GASB 75 analysis done. The 2018-2019 fiscal year is the year in which we need to include that in our final financial statements. The majority of this is what is known as OPED. It's the current value of post-employment benefits. So essentially, village budget works on a cash basis. You plan for what monies you need to sustain for the 12-month period of your fiscal year. You have fund balance that is used for a number of things, including it's a rainy day fund or times when there's an emergency that you need them. But some of the other reasons why you want to have a healthy fund balance is to take into consideration that there are future costs that you're currently obligated for. And so in order to assess that, you are obligated to have that analysis done. Sound Actuarial has done ours in the past, therefore they have a good running start. Therefore, their proposal of $8,500 is going to be far less than if we went out to someone new. And they have a very good track record. It'd be my recommendation that we would engage Sound Actuarial to do our GASB 75 audit for our fiscal year 2018-19.
Are they going to send us one of their partners or seasoned individuals, or are they going to send us?
They actually don't send us anyone, we send them information.
And they just review it.
And it's not that they don't review it, they actually do the actuarial work. So they take our numbers, they will ask us for our collective bargaining agreements. So they look at, okay, what are our obligations under our current contracts as to what we're going to have to pay employees once they are out of are no longer employed with us. So they evaluate that. They evaluate the age. They look at all the various records, and then they come up with a calculation of what the current cost of our future benefits would be at May 31st, 2019. So in essence, if the Village of Southampton went out of business on May 31st, 2019, what would our costs be for going on into the future?
Well, I think it's well worth getting them since they've been previous audited.
Yeah, and I've had experience with them, and I'm very comfortable. It's important when you're having any type of an audit done, because we have a relatively small staff, but yet a large and somewhat complicated contracts, that you have a group of people that can work in unison with what we have going on, selling beach permits and all seasonal help and all of those types of things. So you need to have a good working group that that can work with you and help you out. So if there's no more questions, I'll entertain a motion to authorize the mayor to enter into an agreement with Sound Actuarial Consulting LLC to perform our GASB 75 analysis for the fiscal year ending 2019 for a charge of $8,500.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And number 10, we got LT's contractual payment.
So I'll take that.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, so if you read the contract that I have attached, it could be a little bit confusing. I spoke with our contractual auditor for an opinion, spoke with the village attorney, and essentially there are two parts of this that are relevant here. First of all, we received a check for $10,000 as required by the contract from Altice. In bullet point number 2, it agrees that we name Altice USA as a gold sponsor at our village's annual fall festival for the first 3 years of the franchise agreement term, and a silver sponsor for the 4th year of the term. And Julie, what is the cost of a gold sponsor and a silver sponsor?
Excuse me. Well, this agreement, I believe, was done in last year, so it was $3,000. We've amended it a little bit, so a gold is now $2,500.
Right.
But it was and above.
Yes.
we'll have
Okay.
to take more,
Yeah.
obviously. So, wanted to be clear. So that would be, 3 years would be 9,000, and then 1 year is silver is what they're looking at, and then that would be another 1,500.
So they were paying $10,000 and we got a check for $10,000. We're naming them as sponsors. However, bullet number 3 says they'll make one-time grant to the village in the amount of $10,000 to be used by the village for its technology and telecommunication-related needs. It says when they were going to pay it. So the question I asked ultimately of the village attorney was, do you see an obligation of that $10,000? And I believe that you're saying that it is your belief that this village board can.
Well, the question was, what kind of fund do you put it in?
That was the question that was asked.
Or a reserve fund, or can it be in the operating fund?
Correct.
And here it's very broad. There isn't any particular restriction, and it's labeled for technology and telecommunication-related needs. To me, that's very broad. I think there was some attempt, and I think the question is certainly the Fall Festival is something that we have some needs there. But that's probably an area where you could utilize that, and it's directly related to what was being offered. But I don't believe that there's any particular restriction one way or another, other than it should be technology and telecommunications related needs.
That being said, what I'm looking for direction from the board is, generally funds that are not directed by this board or directed by a contract would just go into the general fund for any general purpose. So, again, Julie has a couple more comments, but so that's what we're looking. That's what I'm looking as the village treasurer. I'm looking for direction as to how you would like that money allocated.
I would consider making a pitch for the website that we were talking about redoing, which will have a direct impact on Southampton Fest because it will be linked to it.
I think that's great. That's a very good.
So we're talking about, we need to
the-
spend money hiring someone for the website?
Yes.
We've been working with someone.
With the marketing company.
So that's technology related?
Completely, because there's a social media platform as well, so.
It's a very good suggestion, Julie.
That's an excellent suggestion.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Can I just back up a second? Because Altice is kind of a new name. I know we've talked about it before.
Cablevision.
Yeah, so it's Cablevision. And we know we signed legislation last year, or we had to sign legislation.
Franchise agreement.
The franchise agreement. And
This was part of it.
this was part of it. So they are getting, by paying us $10,000, right? So so for the public at large, how do all these
So
pieces
we
interrelate?
receive 5% of the television cable portion of any village resident's cable bill in the form of a franchise fee. And we receive quarterly payments that come to an amount of over $375,000 a year. That's what the franchise agreement provides to us. And that's the maximum amount that we're permitted to have. As a kicker, I wasn't here for the negotiations, although Steve and I had a number of conversations because the town had just recently negotiated its franchise agreement. So we were kind of working off each other a little. You ask for some additional funding for purposes of sometimes for equipment so that you can record, or you need speakers or cameras or things, because they also have an obligation to publicly broadcast, to have an education and government channel, and have a community access channel as well. So part of the negotiation is to get something else as well in the lines, because we do relieve them of some of their obligations with regards to education and government channel broadcasting. So this was an additional amount on top of the franchise agreement.
Because you had suggested when we spoke the other day that we have a lot of really good information and we can't really clog up our Board of Trustee meetings, that we might want to set aside some of these presentations and then leverage Charlie and have those go up on Channel 22. So I didn't know if that would be an additional cost. Meaning, do we have an idea of how much?
Well,
Would that also then come into Channel 20?
Yeah.
The community access, the other?
well, again, the town,
that we're working
right, the
on?
town is working on some Channel 20, which is a kind of another direction, but still, that's a public access type channel, sort of like what LTV, if any of you are familiar with, in East Hampton. The town of East Hampton not only handles all of the program on their Channel 22, they handle the programming on their Channel 20 as well. The town of Southampton handles the station. We have a relationship and a contract with the town, which we're in the process of renegotiating, in which they take our product, which they're obligated to broadcast anyway, but for consideration of having better time spots, more product than any other village has. So we have a relationship with the town to broadcast our product. So that's sort of how the television aspect works. Since our conversation, and I haven't had a chance to update you, I have been looking at some of the technology that other villages and municipalities have. The village of Sag Harbor has now recently, and I'm trying to get information on, has an app in which when you come in, instead of having a presentation done, where they don't have a camera or anything there, they used to just put up tripods and posters and things. You can log into the app, and you're sitting out there on your phone watching the presentation that's being done so there are a lot of new kind of technologies out there. I know a lot of us are tied to these binders and watch me struggle twice a month filling them. But I am looking into. I think that this $10,000, probably it would be a nice start, but I don't think that that's what we're looking at is probably going to be a little bit more than that.
Well, Julie's idea is a great idea.
And we can go back to the well to Cablevision or LTs.
But we do have a lot of people that have really good information, and we don't want to lose it. For instance, we have Edwina Von Gall coming in, and she really has an hour-long presentation. She's going to shorten it down to 15 minutes just for us, but I mean, that would have been a really good.
And that's part.
Something, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
that is something on the Community Access Committee, which I sit on with the town, and that is something that we've come up with, like a whole list of potential programming that could be done, because we were all just brainstorming and firing off ideas, and one of them was a whole environmental aspect, and you could invite people in and have someone moderate it, and there's a wealth of opportunity. It's just trying to work out the actual arrangements, which is something that the town's been trying to work out somewhat.
But on the education and government side of it, I think it's important to know that one of the things that that the town has continued to work on, CTV was one of the divisions under General Services, that the town's doing a lot more live broadcasts, not necessarily live on Channel 22, but live in the sense that you can go on YouTube. They have a YouTube channel. They are now moving more towards on-demand. The town is looking to regenerate and re-energize its CTV committee, for which we've been told we will have at least one, if not two, seats on that committee, because we're a paying active participant of CTV. And what I'd like to see is that there be on the CTV website an opportunity for there to be on-demand village programming as well. So for the sake of argument, we have a presentation in August that you're speaking about in which we're getting the smaller versions, kind of like if you watch I'm trying to think of Jon Stewart because he was on the other day, but who replaced him? You'll see his interview, and they'll say, if you want to watch the whole interview, or 60 Minutes at the end of 60 Minutes, if you want to see the whole interview, go on. So those are the types of things as we move forward with, working with Charlie and our technology group here. Those are some of the things we're looking to do as well.
Good.
Okay.
So I actually don't need a resolution because I would have needed a
After all
resolution.
that?
That's good, you weren't going to get one.
Right. No,
I'm kidding.
I understand.
Well, we help put people to sleep in case they watch us at 2 in the morning. This will just...
Yeah.
Moving to number 11. Actually, number 11 is probably something that we should be more involved in than we are, and it's broader horizons in relationship to summer interns.
So the Southampton Youth Bureau has a number of great programs. As a matter of fact, Tracy Colson, who oversees the Broader Horizons, was here for Trustee Allen's
And Mayor Irving's Career Day.
Career Day, yes. That's right. It was
Yeah.
co-sponsored.
That was
day. It was great. And as you can see in the little handout that I put in here, it's a summer internship program for Southampton Town residents between the ages of 14 and 17. They work 6 weeks in positions with various town departments and community agencies or businesses. They participate in 12 hours of job readiness and basic skills training, learning information such as creating bank accounts, resume writing, interview skills, and they participate in an annual job fair to help connect young people with job opportunities in the community as well. What I'm asking the board tonight, and I think I've gotten an answer from the mayor, is I'd have to see what the cost would be, but I'm looking for our interest in potentially sponsoring either 1 or 2 positions. Essentially, the town would do the initial intake on these interns, give them the readiness and basic skills training, and then we would, for 6 weeks, for 20 hours a week, have them come work either in a department, or we could, choose 3 departments and have them move every 2 weeks from department to department. It's not, it's actual work. They ask that it's not just simply, hey, for years we've needed to have, these files filed or these copies made. They want it to be interactive and an experience in which they're doing work. I've, for 8+ years, was intimately involved in the program, and I think it's a great program. I honestly think that this program should be mandated in all of our schools. I think I can raise my hand and say, that I've had children of my own or friends of kids who, boy, they can give you an algebraic equation backwards, forwards, and upside down. But as far as how to keep a checkbook, or they come home with a W-4 and say, what do I write in here? These are skills that I just think are so essential. So it's a great program. I think you can hear I'm excited about it. So what I'm looking for is kind of the go ahead, and if there's and it works, and there's I'm certain there is budget. I probably would come back at the next meeting with a resolution to hire if you folks the board's amenable to it.
So when they participate in the 12 hours of job readiness, who teaches them that?
It's the town, and they bring in people as well. So they'll have guest experts come in, someone in banking or someone in, the various trades.
So just 2 comments on this. Having managed a lot of interns in previous roles, or managed departments that took in a lot of interns, it's really unfair to the intern unless you don't have a really well-described objective and a job for them, and someone to help manage them, not someone to say, oh, this person has extra work, so we're going to throw that person over there and have them just fill out invoices. So it's a great idea, but we have to be very careful and sit down and say, where are opportunities for these individuals to actually learn something and acquire enough knowledge during this short period of time, and what will they get out of it during this short period of time? I know you probably already thought about that.
Well, one of the things, oddly enough, one of the obligations when it's, whether you're a town department seeking one of these interns, or Riverhead Building Supply, who takes one every year, or Quag Wildlife that takes some each year. There's various companies that participate. In the application, when you say you're going to participate, you actually have to list what jobs they're doing. And if not, they'll say, that's not really what this program's about. So we will have to do that in order for them to say, yes, we're going to send you.
Then they get it.
Yeah. Okay. It's a great, when I say it's a great program, it's a great program.
Well, I certainly think that all of us would like to see you go ahead and find.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But I agree with Kimberly. You have to have a position for them.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So that's, so that's the takeaway here, is that I'm going to work with the various supervisors, including, our office, and, get a list of tasks of things that are, actual work product that, they would gain some knowledge of, and, and certainly then, come back in 2 weeks and say, hey, look, the town, the Youth Bureau says that our program works. Here are the following people. I also had asked, and he said that it's 90% certain. I asked that if we were to participate, that we would get an intern that is in the Southampton School District, if at all possible. Not that would completely curtail it if there weren't participants, but I felt like the school district would.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
And last, a surplus jet ski. The thought is that for ocean rescue, which I think is really an important part of our emergency services in the village, one of the difficulties is that sometimes during the summer we get either the kite flyers, and those are the guys that on the surfboard style thing being propelled by a kite, or you get a windsurfer that gets in the ocean and they sail off, and then they go, how do I get back? And there they are out there struggling to try to get back. And we really have nothing available to us except calling, I guess, the fire department, getting them to come down with a rubber raft. The Coast Guard would be out of Shinnecock, and you could be in Spain by then. So jet skis have become an incredible tool on ocean rescues. I don't think we're in a position to buy a new one, but I believe this is the town of East Hampton, isn't it?
The town of East Hampton is surplusing this vehicle, this jet ski. It has, I think, approximately 125 hours, which my understanding is relatively low. I think they have multiple watercraft, and I think what they're looking to do is have them all be similar. So this was the first one that they purchased, so it's dissimilar. It's not. Certainly, we would have Ken, or if Ken wasn't comfortable, someone look at it. What I didn't want to do was get into negotiations, or discussions with the town of East Hampton say, hey, I got a great deal on a jet ski, and have this board say, we don't think it's a good idea. So this is really, a jumping off point that I would hope maybe even by the next meeting I might have more details on how much. And one of the other things that the mayor may have said, but I didn't pick up on, is that we have 5 of our current lifeguards are certified in jet ski life-saving. So, obviously we wouldn't just have it sitting there and, hey, first one on, it takes it out. It would have to be used, obviously by a certified either lifeguard or ocean, or one of our ocean rescue team members who are certified in jet ski life-saving.
Yeah, they have a whole program for jet ski emergency services. And, we lost last year an airplane that went down in the ocean, and the fastest responders and the ones that stayed there the entire time were on jet skis. And now they're looking at, most jet skis don't have any lights or navigational equipment on it. Now they're starting to add some of that because they realize there's such a significant vehicle to do rescues on. And I think Bellport, it may have been Bellport or back west, had a boat that the guy forgot that you need water to run the boat in, and he pretty much ended up on a sandbar that had inches of water on it. The first responders there couldn't get to him, and again, it was the use of a jet ski that they were able to get him off the boat. So they have a defined purpose, I think, in emergency use, and they do make a trailer with big fat tires on it, and I think our concept was that it would sit down by Cooper's on the beach, available for emergency use.
Makes sense.
Okay, so it sounds like I have consensus to investigate and come back to the board.
Yeah, I think so. I can run out if they want to take a look at it mechanically. I'll go with them.
I thought you meant if we want to run out on the jet ski.
Jet ski?
Yeah.
He'll be doing that when he's
I'll do that
in the
too.
See if it
marathon.
works.
He'll be taking the jet ski.
That's after the marathon.
The beach portion of it.
Gosh, I'm gonna walk, run, and jet ski.
Jet ski.
Bill, you want to join me?
On one leg.
Okay, comments from board members. Now Trustee Yastrzemski here, we have Trustee Allen.
I will say for Trustee Yastrzemski that he is at a school function, an awards dinner for the senior in high school.
Oh, that's really nice.
And I do want to, because it really was impressive, even though it was just on a small cell phone. He showed me his 2 children did a duet at the Cultural Center. I think it was last night. The Bradley Cooper and
Lady Gaga.
and Lady Gaga.
I love that song.
Oh my gosh. I'm telling you, I'm going to encourage him now that it's on TV. I'm going to encourage him to put it up on YouTube because it was that good. It was great. I was impressed. So both of us, because we're both softies when it comes to our children and stuff, both of us were in my office, and I grabbed the tissue box. I saw him. I started crying. Anyway, he's at an awards dinner tonight.
But that's terrific because he's got 2 extraordinarily talented children.
And we didn't mention you had a recent graduation too, didn't you? Am I not mistaken?
Me?
No. Really?
Yes, I have a
Jet skis?
Yes.
Graduation?
I do. Yes, I'm proud of my son. Sons.
Good. Well, Trustee Allen.
I didn't know if you wanted to mention anything about the
Sure. Yep.
rules.
Yep.
We met with the town trustees, and they wanted to partner with Stony Brook and us in bringing about more real-time and continuous testing of our Lake Agawam.
That's great.
Yeah, it is. So we're just trying to kind of figure out the requirements, the specifications, and then I know there's an intermunicipal agreement, and we're awaiting documentation, but the benefit of that is the DEC comes and tests periodically, but this will tell us everything on a real-time basis.
Well, one of the things that the buoys, they call
I know, I couldn't say it the other day either.
telemetry buoys or something.
Thank you.
And they will collect data on the water quality. One of the things that we have that we haven't really tried to address, and we're just starting addressing, is we've had a lot of research done on Lake Agawam, and not only in Agawam, but also all our water bodies. And we have a lot of comprehensive plans put into effect. And what we're trying to do now with these comprehensive plans is start connecting the dots, because we haven't done that in such a long time, and the buoy will help us collect the data and start figuring out what that data really means. And we also gives us a point that we can share and measure against. We also are, there's two I think maybe 3 test wells that are along by the monument, which Nelson Pope and Boys is going to readdress. And we have the data from during the Lombardo study, and that will give us a baseline. We can retest them now, and it will tell us what's going on, and that's what we want to see, because you have so many different layers. You have the surface water, you have groundwater, and then you have subterranean water. We aren't quite sure where we're getting a lot of the nitrogen and pollution out of, so a lot of this stuff will help us.
And our one of our ARB members, Rob Coburn, brought in an individual who's exceedingly well researched in testing water bodies, and he had shared with us that you can place these underground, I guess you would call them testing walls, and they can tell where their flux is coming from. Flux, I guess, is a fancy word for bad stuff coming into the lake, but it's very interesting because we know there's a temperature increase, we know there's pesticides, we know there's nitrogen, we know there's birds, we know there's acid rain from the Midwest, we know there's, stuff on the bottom of Lake Agawam, but we don't really know what's what. So we have a suspicion, however. So on that note, I just wanted to add also that the DEC came and tested all the water bodies out here, including Lake Agawam. We were clear of any blue-green algae. Wainscott and Mill Pond were not, but we were. So the town trustees had said all of the new leaching basins that have been put in around may starting some show some, progress.
But that's the importance of that is why we need to start collecting the data to put together the dots so that we can say, okay, we've helped stop the surface runoff, and we've seen a slight increase in the water quality. Next, we need to take a look at our deeper water qualities, and then we need to take a look, obviously, at the septic, too. But there's no point doing all these little projects around unless we know what we're going after. So, great stuff.
One other water quality comment, and then something workforce related, and then something fun, which you may already be covering. But Edwina Von Gall, I hope I've pronounced her name correctly, is one of the foremost authorities on the use of pesticides and how it affects our lawn and the proper application of alternative pesticides. She runs a 501c3 organization. She's kindly agreed to come and present on August 8th here in a shortened version because we know we can't have have her give us the hour-long presentation, but that's August 8th, and for everyone who lives near or on a water body, this is for you. So if you can be here, which is great, if you can't, Charlie will have it up on the website. And then with regards to workforce housing, we had met up with Diana Weir, and as you may recall, we had encouraged everyone who has their next generation trying to move back into the village, register on the town workforce housing site. We had encouraged everybody to do that last October. And in particular, not only rentals, but there were 15 units available over here on the Southampton, what's it called? Southampton Point? Yeah, so there was a lottery, and there were, I think, there were a lot of people who entered the lottery. They went through up to 115 people to find 15 applicants that were qualified. But interestingly enough, anyone could enter any lottery in any state. So they did the analysis, and the demographics are the lion's share of the people are within 10 to 15 miles. There were two people that were outside of that, up to 37 miles. So one of East Quogue, 2 in Hampton Bays, 1 in Sag Harbor, 1 in Sagaponack, 5 in Southampton, 1 in East Hampton, 1 in Montauk, 1 in Manorville, 1 in Ridge, and 1 in Patchogue. So interestingly, people who gravitate to these registries are those that live and work within the 50.
That's what we would hope for.
Yeah, we would hope for that, right? And the fun-related, I think you probably are announcing that, right?
No.
Flag Day? Oh, so, Nancy, I'll give it to Nancy.
No, it's okay. No, it's all right.
Well, you're a trustee for the Southampton History Museum.
Oh, the party.
Yes.
Oh, yes, I will do that. The birthday party.
Okay.
That's that.
Trustee McGann.
Oh, okay, so the birthday
We're ready
party.
for a party.
I know. The Southampton History Museum is having their birthday party on Saturday at 2:00, and they will. There's Sweet Adelines will be singing, and there's a lot of activity for people. Sip and Soda is donating ice cream, so there'll be ice cream cones for everyone, and it's a nice celebration. I think everybody should come over.
The ice cream's
be
free.
fun.
Yeah, the ice cream's
And I
a
think
gift.
we're going to be doling out the ice cream,
Here we are.
aren't we?
I hope they have a good scoop. I hope they gave us one of those
No, you
Sip
need
and Soda
you need a
scoops.
cup of warm water, and
Yeah,
you'll
that's
be
what you do.
okay. Thank you, Justine.
Thank you for
again.
reminding me of that.
Well, you've done so much good things with the Southampton
Yeah, you
History
really have.
Museum.
Yep.
It's fun.
And Trustee Hattrick.
Two things.
Here's his list.
The village, of course, has produced its share of superstars. And sadly, 2 weeks ago, I'm looking at the obituaries in the press, and one of them was for Howard McElroy, who was a village clerk here following the retirement of George Andrews, who was a wonderful person also. But Howard was the village clerk for Dick Spooner's reign, and I was still here. And I remember my brother-in-law, Joe Butler, had gone to school with Howard, and he said to me one day that Howard was the smartest person that ever went to Southampton High School. And I knew he had been in the Marine Corps, but in the obituary, apparently he was a ROTC scholarship to Harvard. And I knew, which explains why he had spent 5 years in the Marine Corps. That's part of the obligation, I think, and he was in the intelligence area. But the thing that was most impressive about Howard was that he married his high school sweetheart, Susan, who had contracted polio when she was a youngster. And so her whole marriage was in a wheelchair, and they had 2 children. They were the greatest couple in Whitford.
Yeah.
And the other one is maybe the greatest saint that Southampton has ever produced. It's funny that Caesar should come here today and talk about Carol Whitby. And I just, quite by accident, became aware of what she did for this Hispanic community in this village. I remember one time, I think I was up there to have my car inspected, and I don't know, she would not tell me this. There was a reason why I couldn't come tomorrow, because she was cooking dinner, Thanksgiving dinner for 75 of them. And so on one morning, I'm going into CVS on a Saturday morning to get paid, and she's coming out with this shopping cart full of like cases and cases of drinking water and all kinds of food. And then you go up there, and they're sitting in there. If it was a cold day, they could come in. If it was a rainy day, they could come in, and there used to be so many of them at that particular part of the village. And the facilities were open to them and so on, and they fed them. And of course, her husband, Al, who is kind of a gruff person, but he's got to be the saintliest gruff person in a couple of them. And if there's any value to the words, advance to the reward prepared for you from the beginning of the world, why, Lord, I was hungry and you gave me to eat, thirsty, and I was lonely and you took me in. Boy, did she do it. Can't believe it. Sorry.
No, Bill, you sort of discussed what Southampton is about.
Right. Yep. Some real superstars.
There are some terrific superstars out here, and a lot of the Hispanic community.
To see him come in tonight, and that they're going to. Great. Boy, if anybody ever deserved that, and I'm sure it's never happened before in this village to have a parade by a group for somebody who was not part of their group.
And Caesar's got a tremendous amount of sense of humor, because when he came in to see us,
he's been in, I think, a half a dozen times.
He kept telling me, he goes, "Why do you let my statue get rust stains on it?" And I'm going, "Statue?" And I couldn't figure it out at first, He goes, "Yes, every day I go by and I go, 'Hi, Caesar.' And I walk by it and it's got rust stains on it." Well, what he was talking about was Caesar, the statue of Caesar that's down by SAC.
Next door.
He goes there every day to say hello, and he's a little upset that it's gotten rusty, and he wants it to be better made.
Isn't that funny?
He's been in at least a half a dozen times to talk about this procession in honor of Carol. Yeah.
And I tell you, Bill, many years ago, and the guy still sort of works for me, I stopped this Spanish individual on the road because I needed a guy in the yard, and he was from Guatemala. He spoke very little English, but I had, my poor Spanish and his poor English. We communicated, and I ended up hiring him. And I gave him housing as part of hiring him. And so I told him, I go, "Listen, I'll get one of the guys to go over with you in the truck, and we'll grab all your stuff." Okay? So one of the guys in the yard got in the truck, and this guy got in the truck with him, and they drove off, and I don't know where he was staying at the time. And then they come back, and the guy in the truck comes to me and he goes, "Hey, yes, well, what was that all about? Why'd you make me bring the truck?" And I go, "Well, because I wanted you to get all this stuff so he can move into the apartment." And he goes, he had one shoebox with a clean undershirt, clean pair of underwear, and socks. That was it. That's all that he came into this country with. So it's pretty amazing.
Can I tell you one quick story? ZBA story. I was there from 70 to 85, and Al Whitby came in with an application for his tire department, and of course the famous Elise Corman, Dr. No, was on our board, and he wanted to build the building that's on the back of his shop there, and it was large and, taking up some of the parking and all that sort of thing, and it wasn't going to go very far, particularly with Elise, rightfully being concerned about the size of the building and all that. And I finally said, "Al, the biggest problem you have there is you're piling all the used tires between the front of your building and between McDonald's, and they're highly visible. There's like a 5-foot fence, and they're piled, 12 feet in the air. And then in the back, there were another pile of tires. I said, if you agreed to keep those tires in the building from this day forward, I would be inclined to grant your application. And somehow, I don't know if Elise was convinced, but the other 3 members were. And so I often, when I look at that, and it's a huge building, but if you wanted to go back about 40 years, it wasn't very big at all. And so I always had an interest in him, but she was just a remarkable person, and Al had to be right there. I think it had to cost, there was a lot of money involved, but time and just caring for people who didn't have a prayer.
No, they didn't. And, they came into a strange country with nothing.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
And sure work.
Another very impressive individual that we lost here in the village, and I pass my condolences as to the Lynch family on the passing of Ruth Gilmartin Lynch, who passed away on June 6th at the age of 104.
Yep.
And she and her family had been a huge part of Southampton Village community for many, many generations. I didn't personally know her very well, but I know Julie did, and Julie was very fond of her. And
it's an amazing family, and I think, which I saw was actually at the service, but during the eulogy, her son Jim was saying that I think there were 54 between children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren.
Oh, yeah.
So that was quite a large family, and certainly, everybody knows Lynch's Garden Center and James Lynch and irrigation and Lynch Homes, and it goes on and on and on, but she was...
and everybody in the village of Southampton sold Christmas trees with Jerry Lynch.
Exactly right. They're a very generous family, and so, it's a huge loss. But interestingly, that she passed away on D-Day, which, as her son said, is a day she actually, would have remembered and been through, and that which I did not know she had been a teacher at Southampton High School very briefly before she got married to Mr. Lynch, and she was a Gilmartin, so Lynch and Gilmartin, it's a huge family.
Think what she had seen. She was born in 1914.
Right.
Yeah. And World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam.
Right.
Desert Storm. Just incredible stuff. And our sincere condolences go to the entire family. On another note that Kimberly sort of brought up is we've been speaking again with H2M, which is the outfit that originally did our septic system study. We've been in communications with Nick Bono, which he's a discipline engineer for H2M, and hopefully he'll come out and meet with us relatively shortly. They prepared the original plan and scope for the proposed water treatment plan for the villages at Southampton. I was sort of a part of it then in 2014. Hopefully in the next week we'll meet them and partner to review the existing plan. And a lot of things have sort of changed because now we have an ambulance barn where we're going to put a septic unit in. So some of the design work and stuff we'll have to discuss, and we'll have to take a look at a level of vision on the next steps over the next few years. But this meeting hopefully will enable them to prepare and present to the entire village board here a proposal on how to modify the existing design and formulate a process to progress with the project. The real interesting thing with the whole concept of septic is in 2014 we went for it. We had a sewer district outlined. We were very close to proceeding with it, but we'd gotten very negative feedback from the residents, and now we're in 2019 and is switched completely around. The residents are going,
180.
why didn't you do this?
Yeah, you're right.
And you're going,
Because you didn't want it.
okay.
But to your point, technology has evolved.
Yes.
Cluster systems are much better.
Technology has
right?
evolved.
And the price tag back then was $34 million, which was a little bit of a joke,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
now we may not be looking at that, and there's more funding, because guess what? The entire eastern Long Island, the entire island has water quality problems.
Yeah, the funding is in place now, which it wasn't then. There was some federal funding that was available if you read through their report. But I think this is a great step forward. Their original plan in 2014 was a concept of cluster-style units, because there would be macerators that would be set behind the stores that the stores would lead into, and then they would go from the macerator to the low-pressure system. So we need to start that up again now that we have support, and we need to take a close look at it. And some of the geographic and physicalness of the village has changed, so locations and stuff are going to change. Then also, which they refer to themselves as Concern for Living, which was the workforce housing complex that was going to go in by the church there, which a lot of the individuals on Hillcrest had concerns about. They've canceled their presentation to the board, which was scheduled for June 25th. I think they're reanalyzing what they're going to do. They're reevaluating the project and their plans. The village is staying in communication. Russell was very good on staying on top of the town in regards to what was going on. And I think they're going to represent the status of their application going forward. So that for the individuals that are on Hillcrest, we've slowly, I think, maybe resolved the issue, and they won't have the impact they were concerned about.
So that road's not going to come through.
No.
Their exit isn't going to come through Hillcrest.
As of now.
As of
Right, they have not
okay.
they have not officially represented, but they do know that when they do represent, that's going to be part of the adjustments they're making.
Because to Nancy's point and yours, that would have created a cut-through, and
It would have created a cut-through, and we pretty much...
So are they coming through the back of the, what is it called,
that
Ocean Electric with
the
Seasons.
Gospel Church, or the...
no,
Going west?
No, the nursing home.
Oh, West Hampton, the rehab center, Southampton Care Center.
No, at this point, they're reevaluating the project as a whole, so,
Oh,
you know.
There's been no movement at the town. The town has not scheduled them for a work session, and they feel as though they know that they have a number of changes, including, I let the town know that we, the village board, feels that it's very important that they get input from this village board through a presentation and incorporate some of those ideas before they present to the town, who ultimately is the ones who will approve or disapprove the project. So,
I just want to say that one of the reasons why I have not been in favor of this project is not for any other reason than the project is basically open to anyone in New York State. I had a friend who went over there and foiled for the documents relating to this project, which were huge. There's a huge amount of documents over there. They already have people all over the state of New York applying to move in. It's a low-income project in the sense that A one-bedroom is $500 a month. A three-bedroom was $1,100 a month. If this were strictly what we would consider workforce housing on a local level, I would feel very differently. But because it is not, I'm having problems with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we wrote a letter, which I think Julie was very kind in hand-delivering, weren't she? That we were concerned about those things, and obviously, hopefully, they paid attention. We were concerned about Hillcrest and their access.
And that was my number one concern.
Yeah.
The second one was I think it's wrong to bring a project here to Southampton that is open to all of New York State. And we wouldn't want to live in Southampton for $500 a month.
No.
I mean, it's just, we have a lot of people who really want to stay here and work here. And, $500 or $1,100 is right on target with what they could really afford. And they're not giving priority
Right.
in that project.
That was an issue.
And that is a real problem in my mind.
Quite frankly, rent is one part of your costs in living in Southampton. Right. Certainly going to the grocery store, you don't pay what you do back west or Riverhead. And, that's the other aspect. So.
It's more expensive across the board, no matter how you look at it. Our gas is more money, our food is more money, our lodging is more money, everything.
Yep.
So.
And then the other thing I have here is what you brought up is the Southampton History Museum will celebrate its 120th birthday this Saturday, June 15th, 2 p.m. We're singing by the Long Island Sound Choir of Sweet Adelines and Sag Harbor Community Bank. So,
I love that.
Julie and I wondered if you would maybe give us a little, key or a couple of lines.
You wouldn't dare do that to me.
I think the mayor's doing it right now.
I just want to make it clear that Kimberly is singing and won't be serving cake and ice cream.
Well, I'm a new member.
No
and
cake, only ice
all
cream.
of the chorus members have beautiful voices, and I croak along in the back, so I'm hiding in the back.
Well, we thought you would maybe, give us a little
me.
Yeah. No? Oh, well. If Rich was here,
I
he'd
know.
get you to sing, I guarantee it.
I'm thinking a different thing than I'm saying.
Then the fifth thing, which is not on here, is, and I think it's very important that everybody gets out and votes. On the June 21st, we have our village election, in which case we have, I'm running as an incumbent, and there's another individual that's running against me. So you'll have two choices of mayors, and there will be three individuals on trustees, and there are two open positions for trustees. Mm-hmm. Obviously, for mayor, there's only one position open. But the most important thing is that the reason I think all of us here have committed so much time to the village of Southampton is that it's a very special place. And as Trustee Hattrick pointed out, community is huge. It's a huge part of the village.
It's family.
It's family.
Right.
When I was a young kid, and I've told Julie, I used to sit on the wall by Rogers Memorial Library. I was one of those ones that everybody's mother went by and goes, no, don't look at him. But one of the...
I wanted to sit there, but I couldn't.
And I think Rich's father used to be one of the officers that would chase me away all the time. But, one of the reasons why did I sit there is because it was great to see everybody you knew drive by, and everybody said hello, and there was a great community camaraderie there, and that's what the Village of Southampton's about. So if you want to support the Village of Southampton, you need to get out and vote.
Right.
9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
9 a.m. to 9 p.m., so there's plenty of time.
Cultural Center, yes.
Yep.
Do be patient if there's a line, because of all of the elections that are going on, including the New York State primary, we're only going to have one tabulator. So, yeah, they weren't going to give us any. They actually said that we were going to have to do paper ballots, and I said, well, then you don't have a place to do your primary election the next week. We're all set, ready to go. We got all of our supplies in. And
We have enough people working there. That'll go fast.
yeah.
No.
Yep, so get out and vote.
Yep.
And with that, I move to the second public comment. Nobody wishing to make a comment.
Charlie and Mrs. Charlie.
Virginia.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.